For those of you who thought you'd never see us again, certainly never on time. For those of you who said, what the fuck am I going to do during this weather delay? Will you come on to Set the Edge?
Come on over.
Come on. Give me on. Pour Dunkin' Donuts coffee. Holly's loving the humidity. We're all happy. It's hot as fucking Connecticut, too.
Can you tell?
Holly Wetzel, curly hair there. I made a Billman no hair here. And it has been a fun couple weeks as Indians fans. I know Holly's probably been paying attention to every inning. Probably been waiting, but we're going to tease you there. We're going to tease you there. We're going to get into the Olympics, my favorite backstroke or whatever. I will tease everybody. I love swimming. I really do. I can't even joke. Like, I love the swimming at the Olympics. I can watch IM to freestyle to I love it all. I love it. I really do. I really get into swimming.
Were you ever a swimmer?
I was briefly. And hello, Jarvis. Good to see Jarvis. Javius. Sorry.
You got Jarvis Landry on your mind.
Jarvis Landry is on my mind. Javius, I'm going to drink my coffee. Wash my mouth out. I got this new thing in my life, and it's throwing me off. My tongue's all over the place. But that's for off the record. Too much pineapple. Javius, it's good to see you.
Andy eats his weight in pineapple a week. It's just the craziest thing. It's the craziest thing.
I know, Javius.
There's so many interpretations with that, too.
Oh, there's so many interpretations with that. Javius, I love you. Thank you for coming on. I want to lead off, though, with what is a surprising story in almost July 4th. We should actually talk about that, too. But let's go backwards. The Cavs are the hot team when it comes to chatter, in my opinion, because this is a turning leaf moment. The Browns are dormant. The Indians keep having rain delays. And the Cavs have really risen to the top. There's a wonderful article. There's two. One by our good friend Jason Lloyd. I'd read that at the Athletic. And Chris Fedor, who I think did a masterful job of really breaking down what is ahead. Javius, love you so much. I feel like we know each other, yet we really don't, but I feel like I know you. I have been stunned that how should I put this? The Cavs are actually in a position, Holly, and it's Captain Obvious, where they can change the organization again. Mm-hmm. It feels that way. I know Chris broke it down. I don't like living by the lottery, but I guess we all have to admit it now. We all kind of did live by the lottery. You never get excited by a third pick unless it's this draft. Everyone's been saying it, and I agree. Whether, Cunningham's will probably go to the Pistons, but you got the Mobley, the Suggs, the Green factor. There might be some other dribbles and drabs. I just get the feeling this is a big time for them. But what surprises me, if I'm being honest, if you go out of three teams, what do you think the biggest story is? On June 30th, I'd say the Cavs. Am I wrong? I think the Cavs is the big story.
Look, because of the possibility right now, what they can do, and there's a lot. Look, they're in a good position. The third pick is a great pick. There's a lot you can do there. I don't see them trading. No. I really don't. So I think we're going to keep it, and I think we're going to, probably hit one of those top three. But depending on who they do draft is where a lot of things are going to start to change with kind of the core. This is the fourth year of the rebuild. Like, this is a pivotal year. And there's just a lot riding on good old Kobe Altman and what they're going to do.
So let's actually pivot to that. I get asked this generally on the Instagram show. What should they do about Kobe Altman? I actually think, Holly, and I know they're not going to do this because it's getting too close to draft now, because I thought they would, but I think you'd have to make that move now. I think getting help with a veteran GM or a veteran assistant GM or someone with some age, someone who's got some experience could really go a long way. I'm not saying fire. I'm not saying goodbye. All I'm saying is I think help is needed. Am I crazy?
Oh, no. I mean, there are a lot of people that want to get rid of him right now. I mean, he didn't speak for 2 weeks when the season ended. So we had no real idea what was going on. It's strange. The Cavs are just a big mystery right now. Do you get that feeling that they're just, you don't really know what's going on in the organization. You don't really know what's going on in the front office. You don't really know what's going on in the locker room. Because you don't know what's going on with the players. I mean, the Kevin Love story and he's playing for the Team USA. It's just it's a whole strange situation. I mean, I feel like I cannot wrap my head about what's really going on. There's a big cloud of smoke and mirrors.
Yeah, I think we should take another step backwards. Good. I'm glad to hear that we're not insane because I think Kobe Altman's look. I will say this. His career's on the line on this pick. This is it.
Well, this is the fourth. This is it because I think
this is it.
Yeah, since it's the fourth year, which is, boy, the last time, and Lloyd wrote this in his article. The last fourth year was what's his face got let go.
Well, you have a bunch of characters who've been in and out. I just think as you look up that name, and I know
I'll look it up, but the fourth year is pivotal. That's my point.
I think for Kobe, no matter what he feels, I will tell you this if he's listening to the show, it is Javius. The Cavs are starting to be the old Browns, very toxic. Here's where I'll follow up with Javius. You're right, but this could change right here. This really can. Yeah. If you make the right selection and you pivot the pieces. This is a strange thing to say. I don't know if the Cavs, or I don't believe the Cavs have core players. They do have parts and elements that I really like. And I think this is the first time you're going to hear. I mean, you're already hearing it. What are they going to do with Sexton? What are you going to do with Allen? What are you going to do with this draft pick? By the way, don't fucking trade it. Just make the draft pick and move on and make a sensible decision from there. I think Holly hit on one more thing that I want to do before we get back to Altman. How is Dan doing, and is his son involved? And if his son is involved, how much of that? I'm not part of the reason why I think the Cavs are, and I agree with you, they're floating, I guess is the word I'll use, but you're right, smokescreen, whatever you want to say, all the same meaning. Part of it is because we don't know how Dan Gilbert's health's doing. And I think that's playing a major role. And I think this is why on the floor, off the floor, everything for the Cavs is this is the year of change in 2021.
It has to be. I mean, because
yes, it does.
So it was Chris Grant and Mike Brown. That was the fourth year. So they were both let go after that fourth year. So I think the Dan Gilbert thing, yeah, well, that's a huge piece of the fact that we don't really know what's going on from the ownership standpoint, from the front office standpoint, who's really in charge, who's making these decisions. You know, they're floating people out there, and you really don't have it, and they're kind of putting a mask on it.
Yes, they are.
You like that little pun intended there?
I do. I'll go a step further. Holly Wetzel, who's the leader of the Cleveland Cavaliers right now?
That's a great question. I don't know. Who?
I don't know if I have the answer either. Mr. Hurd, I'm afraid of who's making the selection. I am with you.
I used to.
I am with you.
Beginning of the season, I thought, well, yeah, Kevin Love, like he's a vet. He's going to lead this team. He's going to put out, and he was just a mess on so many levels this past year. And he's so checked out, and it's just this. He's checked out. He doesn't want to be here. I don't think he even wants to play basketball anymore, quite frankly.
Well, it's weird because he's playing on the USA team and he's trying out for that.
That's what I mean. It doesn't.
Yeah.
I'm trying to. Now all of a sudden you're going to play for Team USA. Like, where were you the entire season? It just doesn't make any sense to me.
I think that to what we're getting at, since Dan Gilbert's stroke, it's been hard to pinpoint who the leader is. Even during the years where there wasn't LeBron, you could feel Dan's presence. It's just not been the same.
He was involved in everything. I will tell you that. I know that. I was heavily involved with some of those things that he was a part of, and he was on top of every detail. So I'm talking any complaint that was texted, he saw those. Refill that paper or towel dispenser, whatever. I mean, he was very, very involved. So yeah, they've kept that very hush hush, and I get it. I respect the fact that he's going through a lot of different health issues, and so. But at the same time, now we're getting to the point with this new regime here, this existing regime here, where now there's a lot more questions that keep adding up, because when you have a season like you just did. Well, again, like this rebuild has been going on for a couple of years now. So where's the direction going? I mean, I didn't like the fact that it took 2 weeks. I think it was basically 2 weeks before they came out and to talk about the season. It's like, does anyone give a shit? I mean, I don't know. It's a big cloud of black smoke there.
Logan, hello. Javius says Garland. And I think that's interesting you say that, because a lot of people are leaning on the Garland bandwagon. I'll get to that in a second. To Holly's point, though, and Holly makes a great point. The Gilbert thing here is, I think, needs to be talked about more. And it's not that we're asking for his health report, because that's not fair to the man. Mm-hmm. We don't know what's going on, but that's going to play a big role in this. And again, I think to what we're all saying here, whether it's, I've been hearing what Javius has been saying. A lot of people like Garland over Sexton. There's all these different parts, and it builds up to this. It's a big year of change. It reminds me of George Steinbrenner when he started stepping away from the Yankees, and it really became a question of who's running the team. It actually kind of feels that way right now, where it's like, you're right. When I was at Cavs games, you knew when Dan was in the house. When Dan was not in the house, boy, it's a different story. And it's that way right now, the Cavs. It's kind of murky. Because even though, like, LeBron was here, and my God, did LeBron rule the town? No question. But for people, for what it's worth, there was a lot of Dan Gilbert there too. And that, we won't go down memory lane, but that's why, Holly, what I'm saying, exactly, Javius, exactly. Dan's hand was in and all over the cookie jar. Mm-hmm. And I think that's why we'll get into more of the draft picks, was Jared and I, Holly and I, down the road. Today, the real story is, where did the Cavs go, and did they – I know they realize this is it. And I will say again, fair or unfair, fine. Kobe Altman, this is it. This is it. Oh. You have to get this draft pick right. It's not fair. It's not right. I'm telling you, this is it.
Yeah.
This is it. Logan, I appreciate the update. We'll get to the Indians in a second. First pitch, 6:40. It's a big start today. Logan Allen's back. I'm excited about this. Speaking about Logan's. Logan, good to see you. And here's going back to the Cavs. I'm on this path real quick, and I want to ask you this. I am not saying you don't have to do whatever. What I don't like is people saying, just trade Sexton. Why? Why can't they make the draft pick and then make a sensible decision on what they want to do? I am very surprised by fans who go, oh, just get rid of Sexton. Whoa. We all know there's some flaws here with Sexton. Sure, he is a good player. Why can't you bring him off the bench? The Cavs need to be I liked how Fedor laid it out. Let's be creative. Anything is in play. So I'll ask you that, one, and two. The only person, can't believe I'm saying this, but there's only one guy I don't want to trade. I really like Larry Nance Jr. in this town.
Okay, we agree on that. I'm with you there.
I don't want to trade him.
I don't want to get rid of Larry Nance either. I want to keep him, and I think I don't know why we have to move Sexton.
Yes.
Before the pick. The pick's going to play into a lot of that, especially with like a Jalen Green.
Correct.
I think all of that's going to kind of work its way out. So yeah. And to get a vet for Colin, move him, let's do it. I mean, I don't, that's what we also need a vet. We need a vet. We need a name.
There is a rumor and heard in Sexton's case, if you can't lead, if no one's willing to follow, I hear you on that. We don't know if that's the case. Logan, I know what you're referencing, Sexton here. I just want to see and wait. Here's the biggest thing that I just feel like the Cavs have a bunch of parts. Allen throughout whoever. But we're all saying the same thing. Who's the identity? Let's start with Larry Nance Jr. because he actually cuts through the cloth and relates to the community. And that's really important to us Clevelanders, in my opinion. So let's keep him there. Plus he can play. God forbid he can play. And I think from there you start making decisions on what works and what doesn't. What I don't understand is I watched all these games last year, and there were some all that to be said. I liked how Garland improved. I saw some Sexton things I like. Jared Allen really plays hard. I like Hartenstein. I was really pleasantly surprised by him. I think Okoro actually really ended the year strong. So there's some things here that I think can work. I just think going to this, if you draft Suggs, you have to trade Sexton. I don't know. Like let's
not necessarily, but it does. Look, between those three, it is going to make any trades right now. I wouldn't. Let's get the pick. Let's figure that out. That's not that far away.
Yes.
And then from there, kind of decide and build where we need to. And look, Kobe is under a lot of pressure.
A lot of pressure.
And we need, we have some really good. The draft's full of a lot of really great athletic playmakers. I think there's a lot of versatile players in this draft, and I don't follow college basketball a ton, but a general overall knowing of what's kind of coming in and what we're going to have access to. So I think in that sense, we have a great shot at the pick 3 of just a lot of different options there that I think will fit us, and then from there build. And I'm going to be happy to ship off Colin Sexton if that means getting a vet back in some way, shape, or form, and we can do something with Love's contract.
Yes.
I mean, that's just such a huge stain. Huge stain.
It's Eeyore. It's the elephant in the room. I'll go this further. So make the pick number 3, make the wisest pick. Kobe Altman's career is on the line, number 1. Number 2, then you just determine what you want to do from there with the rest of your parts, no matter what happens. Kevin Love should come back and be celebrated for what he did in 2016, and I really want him to be. As Kyrie, champions, they're forever. Right now, he needs to move on. My one suggestion I would do, buy him out, or if you really want to get crazy, call Portland and ask him. There's one veteran who I could see actually wanting to be here and embrace the city, CJ McCollum. Oh. Maybe you can call Portland.
There was rumors with him.
I know.
3 months ago, maybe, I think, at the most.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, look, you want to put butts in those seats. You want to get those ratings up. We can never watch the Cavs again on more than 1 or 2 networks that are non-cable. Then I mean, you have to. We've been rebuilding long enough. I'm over it. We rebuild all the fucking time with our professional teams.
I will go a step further to Holly's thing, and then we'll get to some comments on Facebook. This team, it has a ways to go. Oh, sure. They aren't. People sometimes act like the Cavs are just like tying 2 left shoes on and playing and they throw the ball in the crowd and stuff like that. They aren't that bad either. Like there is, I know this drives people crazy. This team is not far off, yet they have a long ways to go. This is why it's everything. And again, I'll repeat, it's not fair to ask Kobe Altman that everything's determined on 1 draft pick, but I know he's there.
Well, it's going to set the tone, and it's going to it's really going to put him under the limelight of now, how he kind of takes these puzzle pieces and puts them together. And I think, look, last year there was no real expectations with COVID because of COVID after what happened. Before that, season ended early anyway, so they got out of that. And of course, they didn't get asked to go to the bubble. Of course they didn't. And then this past season was shortened. There was no real expectations. Yep. Even Kobe Altman said it himself that he wasn't thinking that the season was going to be, playoffs or bust. It was going to be about evaluating and developing the talent and the whole thing. So that idea of playoffs or bust wasn't the, narrative on that in that sense. But because of that, now it's like, okay, well, now there's no more excuses. Now there's no more any type of fallback. Well, it was COVID. Well, they had injuries. And they did. Look, they got plagued with a shit ton of injuries.
Oh, my God. It's embarrassing.
As you can tell, across the NBA, there's a ton of injuries, especially in the playoffs this year. I mean,
the NBA actually, get to that topic real quick, then I'll get to these Facebook comments. The NBA actually does have I was never buying into the LeBron tweets of there's too many injuries and all that stuff. I actually was kind of pushing back, saying let's see what happens.
Yeah.
I have to admit, after last night, even I'm like, wow, Giannis and Trae Young are both out. Ugh.
Well, so I don't know if you just saw right before Giannis. It's not a serious
good
thing. He could. I'm thinking he'll be back.
That's good. It's good for the sport. It's good for that. Look, you can't. Basketball's basketball. It's a team game. We're not naive. You got to have Giannis out there. You got to have Trae Young out there.
Well, here's the thing, Andy, and I want to say something because I don't know if you saw Shaq went back at LeBron's comments about the injuries, and he's like, these guys are making $200 million a year. Like, this is what blah, blah, blah. And right, look, but their bodies and their talent are their moneymaker. That's their talent, their God-given talent is what makes them as special as they are. However, they sign their player agreements. They know what they negotiate with. They knew what was coming up this year. And I feel like it's a little cry wolf in the sense, I think, because he's not in the playoffs. he bounced out of the first round. I think he's a little bit acting, he wants to still get his voice in there because he's not a part of it and he wants to be part of the party and he wasn't invited. And, so I think there's a lot of that. And it's hard to sometimes feel bad for athletes like that when they are making as much money as they are. And the problem with athletes too, I think, to not totally go off by any means, but just there's always going to be a sense of entitlement there. And I get it. And they want whatever's going to fit their narrative and play into what is the best situation for them. That's not a crazy thing outside of most people in this world, that we all want to be able to do whatever fits our narrative, fits our life best. But at the end of the day, like, being a professional athlete's got to be quite the feat on so many levels, because it's like you're not really ever really allowed to bitch about anything because you make so much money. But with this injury stuff, I just think it's ridiculous. Like, there's not like the refs aren't calling things at any point. If anything, Jeff Van Gundy was going off about the fact that Jake Crowder, that wasn't a flagrant. I guess, I don't know when was that. That was
earlier in the series. I remember that. I don't remember. Yes, yeah.
And he was like, "This is the sissiest league," or whatever.
Look. The NBA, there's a lot here. It's transitioning.
Yeah.
I will actually argue, but they got to fine tune some things. I actually like how the game's going on 4th of July. I'm surprised I'm saying that. I prefer the tournament staying on its own. I prefer some of these other sports to kind of have their own moment. Then the NBA takes over in May. I'm surprised. I actually like it. I think the playoffs starting in May is cool.
Yeah.
But the injuries, even for me, are becoming like, wow, there's a lot of people out. I don't know what to say there. The pandemic year, bubble year plays a lot into this. The one thing
that is why, Andy, that is why that these guys, they usually do get 2-3 days off rest in between games. That's not happening.
There's no question. And look, they're playing more games. Yes. They're playing more minutes. It's all that stuff. Now, that's a deeper conversation, but I'll wrap it up here in a bow real quickly. There's a lot that needs to be also celebrated too about how much and how long these players have played. I know Shaq and Barkley don't want to hear this. I actually really enjoy their commentary. Most times I agree with them. The only thing I'll say is they're playing more games. They're having a lot longer careers. So people got to take it that way too. Like Bird didn't play. I think he played 9 or 10 years. He didn't play into his 15th year. He never made it that far.
Think about everything that these guys have access to.
I know. Oh, Holly. For the hydro
gel, $1 million a year, I think he says, on his body, like investing in the different forms.
Yeah, and for people who don't see it, I did real quickly, then I'll get back on to this. I did a lot of stuff for Major League Soccer, MLS. Those guys had some very fancy equipment. If those guys have fancy equipment, I can only imagine what the other players have. So there's other stuff out there. My one little comment to you, I'm a LeBron lover, and I know you're a Jordan person.
Yes, I am.
So here's my inner LeBron coming out. LeBron, we miss you. Wetzel's just jealous, too. It's okay.
What am I jealous of, Andy? What am I jealous of?
No Jordan. I don't know.
I'm not out there crying about there being issues and injuries, and he got bounced. And I think this is just a ploy for him because he's just whining in the corner because he didn't get invited to the big dance. So, and that's okay. It's not the end of the world, but don't make it into something else because the injuries are what they are. You all agreed to this. It's just unfortunate and it sucks, but spouting off on Twitter like that is not going to do anything. I mean, he's just, sometimes it just, what else I think it is too, Andy, and we can talk more kind of on the NBA, bigger outside of the Cavs, is just the NBA is going through a lot of changes and a lot of different ones, and they are getting ready for the post LeBron era. And I think, I think there was a lot of fear going into this when the Lakers got bounced, because it was like, okay, well then 6 of the 10 stars were bounced out of the first round coming in. So it's like, are the ratings going to suck? Like who are we going to watch? I mean, it's not the same. Yeah, well, it's not the same guys anymore. It was the Warriors and Cavs for 3 years in a row in the finals. So it's the new era of these guys. And I think it's exciting. Yeah. I think it's great that Atlanta is finally what a large market Atlanta is, and they're finally back in the talk. I mean,
It's good.
I didn't expect them to be in the Eastern Conference Finals.
The Suns is
Right.
wonderful, wonderful basketball city. Booker's a rising star. I would actually jumble it too with LeBron and Curry, both. Curry's no longer here either. I think that's missed. The Warriors played a big part of this whole parade.
Mhm.
Forget the pandemic year. People don't even remember that they didn't play in the bubble. The Warriors not being around also hurts. And there's a lot to be said to that. And they were both quick exits. Mr. Hurd, the NBA New Babies Association. I don't know if I'd go that strong, but there's a lot of people who do agree with you. Going back to his earlier comment, you can't pay Colin the max. I actually agree with that comment. I like Colin Sexton. You cannot pay him the max. Is right. Are they trying to trade Allen Logan? There's been a lot of rumors about that. The rumors are heating up because if they do draft the kid Mobley out of USC, who's 7 foot tall, that's going to bring in some questions. Again, I will raise this issue. The Cavs weren't the tallest team. Why can't you keep Allen, Hartenstein, and Mobley?
We need a big guy. I'd be more than look. You can never go wrong with the big guys, and we're in desperate need.
Cavs were not a tall team. I would not just start trading Jared Allen because he just drafted Mobley. Yep, and rebranding. Yep, Logan, we just talked about that. If you didn't make it to the finals, your offense wasn't that short. Yes, agreed. And here's the thing that Holly put up on that. I'll get into the ratings now real quick. I love that the Suns are in there. I'm a secret closet Suns fan. I really enjoy that. I really enjoy their fan base. They have a big history in the NBA. When I was growing up, and Holly and I are the same age, the late 80s, mid 80s, really all the way through the 90s, the Suns were in the playoffs every year and usually battling the Lakers or battling the Trailblazers or battling the Jazz, the Rockets, all these teams that get into the NBA Finals. And they're really an enjoyable. I'm just glad to see them winning. I think it's good for the sport. The only thing that the NBA does, though, is they're about faces and names. Magic, Bird, Jordan. We can go through it, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I will say it's hurting them. Kawhi Leonard's out. We just talked about Giannis. Trae Young. Booker's not there yet. He will be. Booker's on that level.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's getting there. And again, I think it's good they're doing team branding. That is hurting. The Western Conference ratings are, I would say, on the pulse a little up. The East is way down. I think when it comes to TV ratings, I think that makes sense to me. I have really enjoyed Suns Clippers, Holly. I will be the first to admit I've had a hard time getting into Bucks and Hawks. I have.
Yeah, look, we briefly went over this before we jumped on, but and I'm with you. I get the sense that that just the West Coast has always just had better basketball, but I think they just have had the better stars though out there. They just have across the board. I mean, the East was just LeBron always.
I'll even go a step further, Holly. It's felt that way really since Jordan. Okay, Jordan and the Bulls always won. LeBron and the Cavs. It was the Jazz, Rockets, Suns. I just mentioned these teams. The Blazers, Lakers. All these teams, God, the Lakers in the late 2000s with Shaq and Kobe were these were powerful teams. And it just the baton's kind of been passed. And then you had the Warriors, which you got into. The San Antonio Spurs were fantastic in the 2000s. Mm-hmm. And the West has had a grip of this league, I would say, since the mid-'80s. I really would. I mean, I'm late 80s because the Celtics, Bulls, and Pistons. Okay, but once,
especially, I was just going to say the bad.
But once the Bulls started winning in the 90s, the Bulls were the best team, but the better conference is the West, and it's really not changed.
No, and that's I do. I mean, I do wish a lot of different times. I've thought about this that LeBron would have stayed in the East somewhere. It just would have kept that balance, I honestly thought too, though, that the Nets were gonna be in the finals.
That's the team I was gonna bring up next. The Nets not being here hurts.
Yeah, but hurts. That's a whole weird. I mean, Kyrie just doing whatever
Durant
Kyrie does.
Harden. And again,
Durant, though, in the end, I mean, wow, what a finish from him.
Oh, by the way, real quickly, you hit it. I'll hammer it home. Game 7, Bucks Nets was wonderful. It was a wonderful, wonderful basketball game. In fact, Durant basically played on. I mean, he was just exhausted at the end of the game. But that's another series. Kyrie out, Harden playing again with a bad hammy. I don't know.
But the ratings, as we said, they aren't there was a great article on Yahoo that really dived deep into the ratings for the NBA and what they look like and did it really suffer as much? I mean, look, they plummeted last year with COVID. We talked about that every week of just how terrible the ratings were with the NBA across the board. We thought, did it have to do with the social justice issues? Did it have to do with COVID? What, or do people even care anymore? I mean, there was a lot of factors in that. And it really turns out that now that we're kind of back to a little bit more of a normal season than we were last year, ratings are pretty much status quo with 2019 is what the findings were. And I think there's a couple things. The NBA has the youngest audience.
I was going to mention that. Yeah.
Huge in 18 to 34. Yeah. So that's advertisers. That's their sweet spot, right? Yes. Then, they also signed, I saw like 9 major partnerships. It was Hotels.com, CarMax, Clorox, Michelob Ultra, and Oculus from the Facebook and Microsoft product. Correct. So they're getting these major advertising deals still signed. That helps. They're going to have to get creative on their carriage agreements, I think, for sure, when the new agreement comes up. Mm-hmm. But the one line I took from that was quality basketball draws an audience, especially if you get 7 games of it. And I think that is,
I agree there. Yeah.
Like the number one line, because that's showing you right now what's going on. Yeah. No one thought that the Bucks and the Hawks were going to draw any real, audience, but it turns out, I mean, the playoffs have been fantastic, I think, on both ends. And it's reviving the NBA to get ready for kind of this next era of stars that are coming up. And it's been good games, and they are the game. You get 7 games of quality basketball, people are going to watch.
To Javius's point, you're saying the same thing. Parity is a great thing for the sport. That's why the NFL is so successful. I agree. It's very healthy. Forget the Clippers. They're one of those big bad teams. But the Suns, Bucks, I would even say the Bucks, and certainly the Hawks don't fit in that brand. And it's good to see them winning. And it's good for the league. I think long-term it's going to be big successful. That's also why it's big for the Cavs. Mm-hmm. It's showing you can win. Right. It's showing you can do this. And to be fair, we went through the trumpeter period of, well, if you're not the Heat, if you're not the Warriors, if you're not the Cavs, look, we were there. We're the Fat Cats. I used to laugh. I'm like, oh, the Raptors and Cavs. I'm like, seeing the finals. Like, don't even. Wait, let's put some scores up here. And we were in that era, and we lived, and God, was it fun. But to what Javius said and what Holly said, it is good for the sport. And again, these are cities that are into it. The Suns are into it. The Atlanta is into it. My God, is Milwaukee into it? They're selling out just as much inside as they are outside. That whole, I forget what they call it, the Deer Park or whatever it is. And that's exciting. It's good for the sport. It's all good. There's some transitioning happening here, and Holly hit the biggest one. I was talking about this with a gentleman today. He used to work at a Messman with me. The youth of this league with fans is wonderful. There's even the NFL who's got better fandom, and there's no question. The youth is still in the NBA.
Well, and I think agreed. I think too, there's a lot of different factors to that. I mean, you're getting young Jay-Z, young owner with the Nets, and I don't know if you've ever been in the Barclays Center.
I have.
That it's fantastic. It's so cool. It feels like you're in a club. They have all these local Brooklyn spots in the arena. There's like a club downstairs below. Like it's such an awesome arena, and it's so fitting toward that whole era. They're the most mobile. They're the most followed on social media. They have a ridiculous Instagram presence, and it's just that's a whole other conversation of what they're doing versus MLB and the other league.
Oh, there's no question. By the way, Barclays is built like an old school arena. The fans are right on top of you. So if the Nets ever win big, Rupp Arena reminds me of it. Rupp for Kentucky is straight up. Barclays is really straight up. So if they ever win, it's going to be loud because the fans are right on top of you.
Yeah.
So it's neat. It has a Wrigley feel. I agree with you. You get off the train in Brooklyn. You have shops and stuff. It's very trendy and hip. I'm not naive. All that to say, this is the transition I think it's going. we kind of highlighted all the flags and stuff, and I guess we talked about 35 minutes in the middle of June. Maybe the NBA isn't doing so bad. And I think they are positioning themselves well. And one note to what Holly says, for everything we think about the Cavs, whatever else, the one thing I love, there's a lot of things, but there's one thing. Rocket Mortgage is a jewel. It is a fantastic arena. It is one of the best state-of-the-art arenas I've been to, and I've been to many. And Brooklyn's nice. The queue is rocking out.
Beautiful.
It's a fantastic. It is the best. I think, maybe it's because I'm a Clevelander, but I think it is the best arena in basketball. I really do. It is really high tech. It feels that way. It feels hip. It's easy to get in and out of. There's a lot of people, but you're not on top of each other. And it stands out when you walk the streets of Cleveland. It's just this beautiful arena. Mm-hmm. The Cavs do have all this stuff going for it. That's why it's big. And I guess simple recaps, we said it's all on Kobe Altman's shoulders. So you better pour some whiskey in that coffee and Bailey's in that coffee, brother. It is a big draft pick. Coming soon, by the way. It'll be here before you know it. I think it's July 22nd. It's coming soon. So it's not too much longer. Mr. Hurd, whatever happened to wanting to be the king of the hill and wanting to play against the best and not with the best? I agree with you. We grew up in that era. That's why I love the Jazz in the 90s, Stockton and Malone. You loved Hakeem Olajuwon. They did win championships. There's many other examples. The Suns did not in that era. But there's many of those. And by the way, that's why we love the Cavs in the 80s and 90s too, even though they couldn't beat Jordan and the Bulls and several other teams. They were always there and they played hard. I agree with you, Javius. I miss that.
Well, and that's what I think is happening right now, Andy, is that there is with these young stars, there is starting to get a little bit more of that parity back.
It is.
So I think in that sense, it's like, yeah, nobody thought that this would be in the Eastern and Western Conference Finals, but boy, they're putting on some quality basketball that we're watching, and it's exciting to kind of get into that next era. It's been I will say it's been an amazing blessing to watch LeBron James play in person in our time, to witness someone like that and everything that he's done for 17 years now or whatever the hell it is. I mean, it's unbelievable, and no one's going to take away from that. But it is exciting that this is a new era starting.
I agree with you there, and the thing is, there is a goodness to this. And I think the Lakers certainly and the Nets, they're not in this. Those are two of the big bad teams. I think the Warriors play a big part in this. They didn't even make the playoffs. I think it's a big story. I'm telling you. These are teams who we're used to seeing in the big screen, and they're not even in the semifinals, let alone the Eastern Conference final. These finals. It's amazing.
Well, and I think the Lakers getting bounced out that first round. I certainly didn't see that coming. No,
I thought they were going to play 7. So, I mean, I can't say anything differently. You're right. All right. Hard transition. Holly Wetzel is in tribe denial land. She pretends she doesn't pay attention. She pretends she's not. Are you now watching the tribe?
Not really. However, I'm definitely paying more attention. And I only thought of it, too, because I made a bet with my dad back in. And I haven't texted him about this. I'm a little nervous too, because I thought he might be texting me about it. But I made a bet with him that the Indians would not be over 500 on July 1st.
Well,
I am wrong.
You should be asking, what would you like, a Venmo payment? Would you a Facebook?
I think we're going to do a nice steak dinner.
Maybe some extra fireworks for the lawn. I mean, all that comes into play. We'll do this briefly. I know the Indians are about ready to do the first pitch. It's remarkable. Again,
It is.
Holly, who's the starting rotation for the Indians right now?
Certainly isn't the same rotation as it was when the season first started.
No. I can actually name them, I believe. Eli Morgan.
Oh, you can. Well, that's
JC Mejia. Cal Quantrill. Logan Allen starting today.
Yeah, he's back up, huh?
Yep.
Desperate times.
But Morgan, definitely Eli Morgan, who I've been impressed with lately. Quantrill, Mejia, and then Logan Allen. And shit, I can't remember the last one. Point being is, with this team, who's been known for starting pitching, it is amazing how they're only 2.5 games out. Thank God the White Sox have hit a major slump. And I can't hit this enough. This team has scrapped enough wins. Did you see the Naylor injury on Sunday?
I saw the replay.
Ooh.
Not good.
Bad. And that kid plays hard. Sad to see. I give this team a lot of credit, and I will actually give one big positive now, because now I'm on this train. If they can survive this and they get now, this next week's tough. They play the Rays and the Astros. It's a tough stretch. They get a reprieve with the Royals, but these next 2 weeks are tough with the Astros and Rays. If they can somehow stay within that 4 to 2 game stretch going into the All-Star break, I actually think they have a real chance, because the White Sox should be starting to put some pad between this team. The Indians are not. I mean, they're starting pitching. It's just not there, and they're somehow getting by. This is a big stretch. I know for the Indians, sure. Yeah. Big stretch for the White Sox. They've got to start putting games in between. It's a lot of pressure on Chicago. A lot of pressure on Chicago. Am I wrong?
No, I don't think so. I'm not following the White Sox, but look,
it's amazing.
It's unbelievable what the Indians are doing right now. It really is. I was a large naysayer, and I will continue to be. I see tribe fever in your eyes, Hallie. Well, it's there's something in there. But I think what I get even more frustrated about is, like, this is going to sound really bad what I'm about to say.
All right.
Okay. With how the season started and that shitty ass payroll and all that, I thought, all right, no one's going to want to watch them. They're going to suck. We got no talent. We're wasting outside of our pitching. I'm like, we're wasting everyone. We're wasting it. We're wasting this talent. We're getting nobody else. We don't want to win. It's like this shit year. Like, Paul Dolan came out and was like, it's like he had no real faith in this year either. I was like, okay, well then I'm thinking they're going to fail. And that's why I made that stupid bet with my dad, because I thought that I'm going to get a nice dinner out of this, because I just thought there's no way. And I think, man, they're still finding a way to do what they have to do and not spend money. And it's driving me fucking crazy, Andy. It just is. It drives me nuts. I'm like, no, you should be failing right now. You should be sucking so we can be mad and put pressure on you to spend money.
This is why it's so much pressure on Kobe Altman to get this right. Because when you look at the Indians, it's remarkable how successful they are right now. And for people who don't watch every day, it's amazingly fun to watch this team.
It's very easy to root for. But I'm telling you, Holly, if you are on that train, and it's basic just theories, this shouldn't be working. Why does this not be working? I agree with you. That's why I'm saying this is the biggest 2 week stretch, because if they survive, Rays and Astros is gonna be, folks, gonna be tough.
Right.
I would take, if they said, "Would you sign for 3 out of 4?" Oh, where do I sign? I'll take 3. Right. like, where do you sign? Because these teams are. I know the Rays had a long losing streak, but the Astros are very hot right now. It's a chance, and again. To Holly, I know what she's meaning. It's just remarkable. It is so remarkable how they're doing. And if they can just get to the All-Star break and get some people back. I know Perez is coming back soon. Framil on Saturday. There looks like Plesac is right around the corner. Savali and Bieber, I think you're talking probably August. But okay, but there's some pieces coming back. If they can just get by this period, somehow I will warn, I think it's dangerous for the White Sox, because it's like, well, you should have fucking blown them away. Now you haven't. Now they're getting everybody back. Now what's going to happen? They're that close, but there is a warning label. You got to play the Astros and Rays now. Let's see how that works out.
Big test. Big.
I'm telling you, Astros are red hot. They're coming in firing on all cannons. Dusty Baker's got that team playing very well right now. And the Rays just went on a long losing streak, and they're still right there with the Red Sox. If you want some good laughter, you want some good chuckles out there, the Yankees are falling apart. It is unwinding at the seams. There's nothing more funnier than reading your athletic article saying, Brian Cashman admits they suck. Oh, there's nothing more sipping a fine coffee on a hot June day and reading the Yankees are just tethering.
I love to see the Yankees always failing.
Oh!
That's one of my favorite things.
Oh, Kevin Atkins, in 10 years, there'll be a book or movie, No Moneyball. Kevin, here's one thing. Tom Bertucci, very well-respected MLB writer. I talked about this. The Indians aren't as thought of. They are very well ahead of the analytics game, even more sometimes ahead of the A's. If they do what I think they might do, wow. I'm telling you. If they pull this Houdini act and they make a playoff run, wow. Wow.
It's going to be really interesting.
I mean, you will see Holly gripping the desk. Can't believe it. I'm sure Jim. I'm sure your dad and every Wetzel out there. I'm telling you, this is the stretch, though, because I think this is a very tough stretch coming up. I would beat the Kitty Cats tonight and be playing twice. I'd take care of those wins. I would take care of those wins big time. Did you watch anything from the U.S. Open? I was surprised. I loved it this year. The ratings were way up. Did you watch any of the golf? No.
No. I haven't in a while, but the golf's been fantastic this year. We talked about that, though. I mean, I've watched others, and we talked about the Phil Mickelson win and all that stuff, and how great it's been for just the sport in general, for golf to kind of be at the top of a lot of discussions.
I'm not going to get too far in the weeds of it. I just want to mention to people, golf has been fascinating this year. I really got in the U.S. Open. The John Rahm thing was a great story. The week before, he played in the Memorial Tournament. I used to go to all the times a kid in Columbus, Ohio, Jack Nicklaus's tournament. He got COVID, was ahead, couldn't finish out because of that. Came back, won the U.S. Open. It was a remarkable story. And then you had the Bryson DeChambeau fall apart. I'll be honest with you, it's amazing. I think golf is really good storylines and really good sports to watch right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say that. I really do. I was gripped by the U.S. Open, gripped by it. Holly wrote a great article that we've kind of touched upon that now we're going to hammer home here that kind of ties with the Indians and kind of did a sideways turn with the golf. But going to Holly's article, the Bally's thing is becoming more real. You mentioned an article, which I think is dicey. I actually think it's more dicey for Bally's than what people might believe. You should get into it, and as you can explain it better. What is Bally? Because we've been talking this podcast all the time. The biggest thing that we get into is why aren't the Indians on? Blah, 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 blah. So, Holly, get into it quickly. What is going on with this Bally's thing, and what's ahead? Or what do you believe is ahead?
Yeah. So I wrote about Bally's has been floating. They floated the idea last year about coming out with a standalone sports app.
Yep.
Standalone sports type of service where you could watch your regional sports network. That has been something that was like absolutely not for, as you know, well, at ESPN and everything, that was never going to be a thing, though I know John Skipper had wished that many moons ago. Financially, it just never made sense. We always talked about the value of the cable bundle when I was at Fox and how important it was. It was everything, and it still is. If anything, this all proves that back tenfold. But we would do a lot of different estimates and looking and what a network like an ESPN would cost by itself for it to sustain the same type of revenue coming in. You're looking at $25 to $30 per person, per household, per subscriber,
per network.
Right.
I'd actually would say you got ESPN too. You got.
That's just for ESPN. That is not for the suite.
But that's my point. Anyways, continue. Yeah. Continue.
So it was no way. No one's going to do that. Well, our entire landscape completely changed, and now we're in this whole different kind of alternate universe of how we're getting content, and it's at any point, whenever we want it, on demand, right at our fingertips. No matter where we are, if we're at home, if we're on a plane, whatever it is, we want it. We want it now. We want to watch our local teams. Fox broke into that with the Fox Sports Go app with the couch rights. You'll be able to log in with your cable provider and watch your team wherever you were outside of the NFL, which the NFL is not involved in any of this, which is a whole other thing. But so Bally floating this, they've gotten even closer. And they're floating out a $23, $22 price point. And I wrote about that with, would you pay $22 or $23 a month for Bally Sports Ohio for the Cavaliers and the Indians. And actually, that's an interesting one because they're not on the same network right now, the Indians and
Correct.
the Cavs. So it's probably a bad example. Well, we can just use Bally Sports Ohio.
But that's gonna be changed. But this goes a part of it. It's gonna be changing.
Yes, it will. But that gets real dicey, and I won't get into the contract stuff because it's like, why would I switch the Indians over here? And
We would need a whiteboard. As I know what you're gonna do.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. So,
yeah.
But we just use Bally Sports Ohio. So for the Cavaliers and the Blue Jackets, are you going to pay $22 a month? Now, this is not going to replace. Well, it could be a replacement, but they're not getting rid of Bally Sports Ohio. It's still going to be it's going to be an extra thing that you can add on to your service. But for this past year, I have been just dumbfounded at the fact that when these negotiations happen with carriage agreements, the consumer is inundated with a marketing campaign that is like, you need to call them, you're losing our product. I mean, we were like frontline we had entire marketing teams for just that. That would put together all these campaigns that never ended up even seeing the light of day if we got the deal done. So this year, it's just been fascinating to me. I could not find anything really, no type of marketing scheme of call Sinclair and bitch that you're not getting your teams. I didn't see anything. I didn't see anything on the team's social media. I didn't see any of that. And now with Bally coming in, my thinking now with all of this, with them doing this, they're relying heavily on that gambling money coming in.
Being, I would say, interactive television.
Yes.
Which I'll get into again, is I actually was a big part of that ESPN when it started in the mid-2000s. Interactive television, aka gambling right now, but interactive. Highlights and how do you spit out the content would be my big thing, and here's why. Forever, when I was growing up, and Holly too, it was Sports Center. You had to watch Sports Center, but you really couldn't go anywhere to get all your highlights. That is long gone. For how much it makes me hurt to say Sports Center's dead. I don't even remember the last time I watched Sports Center. That's sad.
It's not where to get highlights. You can get highlights anywhere now. You can get highlights on your phone. And
that's the point. The trick to this whole deal for Bally's, gambling's one. Interactivity, we'll say those are two things. The sports team, sure. My other one would be highlights. How are you going to spit out the content? How are you going to regurgitate these storylines? How are you going to create things to get people back in? Because my son, Cameron Billman, watches more highlights than he does games. And he's wanting more of it. And he wants to dig into it more. And he wants to believe in these things and wants more of it because he's binging for it. If they can do that trick along with the other two, they got it. Mm-hmm. And that's going to be key. You're going to play the games? Absolutely. Gambling? Oh, my God, that's huge.
Well, then Andy, you're going to be able to wrap it in. So, like, you spend so much money gambling on our app a month, we're going to give you the app for free for the month. We're going to give you this now. So it's all going to start to work in, and teams are going to get a major piece of this. They're going to see that money. So it's all now kind of coming together on why it's been such a just hush-hush year of no one saying anything and no one really giving a shit that the carriage is crap.
Yep. There's a lot to come to this. There is some risk for Bally's. And here's my only thing I would warn. You are going to have to deal with the leagues. You're going to have to deal with the teams. And there'll be some good things for that, and there's going to be some bad things to that. I will repeat. I think creating content, gambling's so big. But if you really want to get the Cam Billmans and that younger generation, how do you regurgitate content? And getting that hook is going to be very, from what I can tell, is very, very, very big.
And this could be very big for the MLB too, with kind of getting into that whole younger demographic and getting them into that world.
We did this a couple weeks ago when Emily was on here. And, I mean, the age rate for the NBA is about mid-40s, late 40s. And Major League Baseball, it's almost 60. I think it's like late 50s. We said 57, 58, 59. It's a drat. I mean, that is a drat. If it's like 52 to 47, that's big. 47 to 57, that's woo.
Right.
That's big. So I'm going to save the Olympics for a different time because I think we can go on about that, and we're getting closer to that. I am more fascinated by your July 4th stuff. I will declare this right now. For people who don't know, they go, what do you like, Andy? I am not like Holly. I'm not into Christmas as much as other people. I do like Thanksgiving.
I have an update. Remind me.
Uh-oh. I love the 4th of July.
Do you?
It is one of the few times I do not play. Oh, we shouldn't play with fire. I think we should play with fire. I think we should light things off, explode things. I think we should drink and eat way too much throughout the day, become bloated, and then drink and eat some more, and then do some more lighting things on fire, and then hit a lake, a pool, an ocean, some sort of water product. And everything should be hot dogs, hamburgers, brats. Hot dogs, hamburgers, brats. In fact, you can do it for dinner, you can do it for lunch, you can do it for breakfast. I don't give a fuck. I love it. It is the one time I'm not a big grill guy. It is the one time I am a big grill guy. I love the 4th of July.
What are you doing for the 4th?
My mom comes into town. She's coming into town tomorrow night. We go to a place that she loves called Stu Linner's. She then breaks out her wonderful thing, the plastic thing called a credit card.
Oh.
And she even looks at my refrigerator and says it's empty, even though it's not. And she goes, we've got to get fine meats, steak and brats and chicken and turkey.
My kind of woman right there.
Oh, and then she goes, do you have Grey Goose or what kind of vodka do you have?
Another box.
Oh. And she was not happy when I said, well, I only got a third left of the Grey Goose. Oh, we'll get some more.
Oh,
her whole, it has become my favorite holiday. I love the 4th of July.
All right. I did not know that about you with the 4th. I mean, look, you're getting me you're getting me more excited for it. I have a pretty packed schedule.
You do have some plans.
I got plans this week starting tomorrow. I got my sister and my niece coming up. We're doing a girls' night sleepover, the whole thing. You know, I went to the grocery today.
That's awesome.
I got the vodka, I got the wine, I got the popcorn,
juice boxes.
Oh, the juice boxes. Lily is taken care of. I got her all
awesome.
set up. And then there is a boat in my future on Saturday. My good friend Emily, friend of the show, has a boat. It's great. It's great to have friends with boats. So we are doing a lake day on Saturday. We usually do 4th of July together. So I got a good, plans for the 4th. But Andy, what I'm also really excited about, since you brought up Christmas, next Friday, I am hosting with my friends a Christmas in July party.
Of course you are. Here's your homework. Yeah, do your shoulder shimmy. I want photos. I want a detailed list of what happens, and we will talk about it at the end of the next show.
Yes, I will have a full report. I'm talking wear your full ugly garb. I'm making cocktails. I'm decorating. We're also doing vinyl nights. So we got a little combo going on. I'm like, bring your vinyl. I got Christmas vinyl.
Woo!
We're gonna get some Christmas ale that gets tapped in July. We are just gonna be living our life coming up here in July for Christmas in July. So excited.
Have everyone out there a wonderful 4th of July, or in Holly's case, Christmas in July. I didn't know the fucking thing existed. Holly's creating new things. We're trending on this show, I'm sure.
Yes.
What we discovered here today is Kobe Altman's job is all into one little draft pick, and it's a big deal. Not small. And look at the Hawks, Suns, Bucks. These are teams that feel like the Cavs at times. You are not that far away if you make the right draft pick. The NBA is still where it's at, even though the Rangers still. The Indians is an amazing. I'm telling you, the Indians are an amazing story. This week's big though, and then there's nothing like a hot dog or a hamburger in your future.
That's right.
I mean, it is so big. The Indians are playing right now, so I'm getting ready to do that. I actually have to start transitioning into dad mode because I got kids, I got grandma coming over. You know, I've had a wild month, so I got some things to clean. We're gonna big stuff over here today.
Yeah, you do.
The behind the scenes of the show be a little more exciting.
People only knew.
Woo! I'm so happy. So happy. And of
You
course,
are
it's about the
happy, and I'm
Indians.
happy for you.
I
Yeah.
am too. The Indians winning is such a big deal. And there's something else too, but the Indians winning. All right, real quickly, let's see if I can get a score. They are playing, and it looks like it's 0-0. I have not gotten any updates. It's Urena versus Quantrill. My God, are the Tigers terrible? Terrible team. Terrible.
I'm okay with that.
Oh, thank God. It's fun to see the Yankees lose. Jared and I are probably going to do a show either tomorrow or Friday, confirming with him later. Holly and I back again. I like this Wednesday at 6. We had a good crowd. Javius, thank you. Kevin, Logan, thank you. I'll see you all on the Instagram show later on tonight. Goodbye. Roll Tribe. And last question for Miss Wetzel. What is your favorite 4th of July treat or snack or beverage or whatever?
No, I do all the meats. Just give me all the meats.
Meats, salted chips all day long. I love a good brat. Goodbye. See you guys next week.